The Amazing Digital Circus. Remember that one show I talked about once? And it kind of blew up the internet? Well, they just released its second episode. Now, I was really indecisive on whether I should make a video on this because I'm not really that much of a fan of Digital Circus. I made my opinions clear in my ranking video a while back on why I'm not a fan, so when this dropped, I kind of just tried to avoid it until I caved in and watched it, and there was actually something that piqued my interest. And I don't know what it could be. It could just be, I don't know, the characters maybe, the setting, the guns. Just the guns. And a couple other factors, but now I'm actually invested in this episode just a little bit. So despite the fact that I might get bullied relentlessly, time to explain The Amazing Digital Circus Episode 2 in the dumbest way possible. We start off the episode with a few colors on screen and all the characters saying Pomni's name until we actually see Pomni. She's waking up after hitting a fat blinker off the pendulum, and I guess she's still feeling the effect because she gets really wobbly for some reason, and then she notices her arm is abstracting, which we didn't see happen in the past few scenes. She starts running, but the entire room rotates and she falls into a pit. She sees Kane, Ragatha, and Jax looking down at her, making fun of her as she falls further. Turns out she was in a dream the entire time and starts tweaking out one of those ABC blocks with the sweet sound of the Gmod collision sound effect playing in my ear. We see Ragatha at her door and asking Pomni how she slept. She opened the door and Ragatha says not to worry about what happened last episode when Pomni deadass left her to die. She then tells Pomni that Kane has another activity set up for the group. So we cut to Kane announcing the next activity, Candy Carrier Chaos, where they will be sent to a high-res version of the Candyland board game to go stop some bandits from stealing maple syrup from the kingdom. Bubble then decides to become the second coming of Mr. Frog and says a whole lot of slurs.
Sounds.
Bubble, you can't say that.
Zubul walks away again from the activity, but Kane tries to convince her to go by saying that he is testing a new AI that will be 57 times more immersive. She still walks away, so Kane just opens the portal and sends the group, excluding Zubul, into it. Kane then hits that good shit from his pipe and offers it to Bubble, but she declines. We then get to see the Candy Canyon Kingdom, as the group is being brought on a carriage. They go in and we see all these confetti and all these people cheering for them, and this guy pushes Gangle over and announces that the princess is coming out. So we get introduced to the princess. This is Princess Lolilu. I probably butchered that, so just from now on we're gonna call her Lou. She explains to the group that the bandits use a modded tanker truck to steal all the maple syrup, so she decides to give the group a war truck to combat them.
What time period is this supposed to be again?
That's what I'm kind of wondering about too. Lou gives Ragatha the key to let them back into the kingdom once they're done. Jax calls shotgun, and once he presses the horn, it sounds like a depressed Pop-Tart, so he immediately makes a Gangle drive. So they drive off, and we get to meet the bandits themselves. This is Max, Chad, and Gummy Goo. Yeah, they make fun of it for being shit later in the episode, don't worry. Gummy Goo sees the Digital Circus gang's truck pulling up, so they leave. We see the inside of the war truck and Jax stating his battle plan. He's gonna jump over to the other truck, get inside, and shoot them repeatedly until they're unrecognizable. Those are his words, not mine. I think I actually might need to call someone after this. Ragatha suggests ways to Pomni and how she could help out, and Jax thinks of a way immediately and throws her out the truck. The Pomni is holding on for dear life in between the two trucks as they stretch her. Jax tells her to stay still while he looks for a bazooka. Kinger throws a life preserver at Pomni, which does nothing. Jax finds the bazooka, but Pomni's fingers slip and she's stuck holding on to the other truck. One of the gators, that is either Max or Chad, I don't know who this is. They actually never drop their names once in this episode. I only found out what their names are from the credits, so it's kind of just up to you to figure out who is who. He tries to grab Pomni, but his arms are too short and he gets hit off by a shoe. He grabs onto the rope from the life preserver, and Gummy Goo tells the other gator, that is either Max or Chad, to head for the rocky road. Jax gets excited because they'll be on more dangerous terrain and tells Gangle to follow them. Gummy Goo tells the purple gator to climb back onto the truck, and Jax tells Gangle they should ram into the other truck. Ragatha reminds him that Pomni is still on there, and Jax threatens Gangle by saying that he will tell Ragatha about the figurine she has in a jar, though she doesn't. The gators activate spikes on the truck so they can't be rammed. Kinger throws an anchor and it goes into the canyon that they are right beside, so this causes the truck to be pulled right into the other one, and Ragatha gets impaled by a spike. The truck starts spinning out of control, and the truck with all the circus members drives off the cliff into the river of fudge, while the other truck with the gators and Pomni drives into a candy mesa, which causes the truck to start bugging out and shoots Gummy Goo and Pomni under the map while shooting the truck away on the surface. We see Gummy Goo crashing into things as he's falling, and he ends up on the out of bounds area. He walks forward a bit to see still models of every character that is in the activity and really starts to freak out when he sees him and his crew as still models. Pomni eventually falls down too, and Gummy Goo starts asking Pomni where they are, and she says that they are under the map, which gets him really confused. And he starts to ask why the digital circus members aren't here as still figures. And once Pomni says that they are NPCs, Gummy Goo eventually puts the pieces together and realizes that he's not actually real. So he does what we all do in this situation and has an existential crisis.
Where's Mum? Shouldn't she be here with everyone else? I can't even remember her face. Did she ever have a face? Was anything ever real?
Pomni tries to calm him down and says they should think of ways to get back up. We cut back to the rest of the circus in the River of Fudge. This goopy monster comes out and mistakes the cast as candy and tries to eat them. He apologizes and puts them down. He introduces himself, and he is the Fudge. Real creative. His backstory is he used to live in the kingdom's walls, but he got banished because he kept eating all the townsfolk. Jax decides to negotiate with the Fudge, calling him an upstanding guy with noble goals, but the Fudge says that they would be sickened if they knew what he did in his free time. If the Fudge is implying that he's a gooner, I am scared to learn what the river is actually made of. Jax interrupts him, and apparently he stole the key from Ragatha and tells the Fudge that if he helps them catch the bandits, he will let him back into the kingdom. The bandits' truck conveniently falls into the river as well. We cut to the out-of-bounds area with Pomni trying to jack up the truck. She turns to Gummy Goo and asks him if he's okay, and he goes on this depressing talk on how everything he knew was all fake. So Pomni tries to comfort him. Gummy Goo then says that he was just made as an obstacle to be created and then forgotten. Hey man, you probably got the best life as an NPC. He has no idea what happens when the triangle and circle buttons appear over his head. If you know, you know. Pomni tells Gummy Goo that people feel like shit all the time, that if he wants to experience something real, he can come back with her to the circus. All this talking cheers Gummy Goo up, so they start brainstorming ideas on how to get back up. Pomni puts some default white cubes onto the truck, and she starts it, which causes the cubes to glitch out, which shoots the truck back up. We cut back to everyone on top of the Fudge, with Jax complaining that there wasn't enough violence, and Ragatha questioning Chad and Max on what happened to Gummy Goo and Pomni. They hear an explosion in the distance, and Jax sees the truck flying straight towards them, and it crashes into the Fudge, supposedly killing him. Gummy Goo and Pomni get out of the truck and immediately throw up. Ragatha rushes over to Pomni, and Gummy Goo reunites with his group. Kanger and Angle notice that there are two trucks now, and Kanger twists the valve to reveal that the other truck also has syrup. So because of this glitch, they solve two problems at once. The crew can have one truck to go back to the kingdom, and the bandits can have their truck as well for their reasons, despite nothing on their end being real. Pomni tells Ragatha that Gummy Goo is coming back to the circus as well, and she asks if that's allowed. Pomni says f it, we ball, so the crew brings the truck back to the kingdom, and they get ready to go back to the portal. They hear a rumble in the distance, and apparently Jax left the gate open, and the Fudge wasn't dead, and everyone runs to the portal to let the other people deal with it. Kane welcomes everyone back and notices Gummy Goo and just...
Wait, what?
He's fucking dead! Kane explains that they can't bring NPCs back because if there's too many, he can't tell who's a real person and who's an NPC. Pomni starts tweaking out again, so Kane leaves and Zubul comes over from behind some blocks. Ragatha tries to comfort Pomni, telling her that Kane reuses NPCs sometimes and maybe they'll see him again. She then asks Pomni if they want to join them for Kaufmo's funeral, so they all gather around this box, which I guess has his belongings inside, since he kinda did get sent to a whole other dimension in the last episode. They say a few nice things, and Pomni realizes that maybe she doesn't have to be alone in this new place, and that the crew really does care about one another. They start zooming out from the circus, and the episode ends. Now, this second episode finally resolved a problem I had with the pilot, and that is it kind of hints at what the plot could possibly be. To me, the pilot didn't really make it clear on what the plot could develop into as the series goes on, and I know that pilots are not really supposed to do that as they're mainly made to introduce the characters, but if it doesn't have that hook at the beginning to at least give someone an idea on what could possibly happen, it could turn someone away, and that's kind of what happened with me. Now, the reason why this episode hooked me more was not just because of the guns and the truck chase, but because it felt more grounded and less all over the place. The pilot was dealing with three separate things at the same time. Pomni's distress in the back rooms, the group dealing with the Gloinks, and Kaufmo. All of these things happening at the same time, with it transitioning between them, making it feel all over the place and just kind of hard to keep up. This second episode focuses on just the two groups, and with it focusing on less of the extra stuff and focusing just on the characters, that's where this episode shines. And I finally have some sort of idea on where this can go and maybe where this can end up. Maybe with Pomni finally accepting that this is her life now and that everyone will be on her side. Or I could just be spewing bullshit and they can just move on with this entire plot point and do something random, and all of her problems just get resolved in this one episode alone. A couple things in this episode I kind of want to point out. Doesn't Jax seem like more of an asshole than he was in the pilot? I don't know, he just seems kind of more like a dick. He pretty much physically abuses everyone more in this episode than he did in the pilot. Also, Zubul looks like she got a redesign from the pilot. nail it. I'm gonna tread on some old ground real quick. Why do they not at least name drop the 2 bandit gators at least once so we know who is who? Anyways, that's what I gotta say about the Amazing Digital Circus episode 2. If I'm alive by the time episode 3 comes out, I'll probably be very indecisive again on whether I talk about it. I don't hate this show. Absolutely no disrespect to Gooseworks or any of the animators. This show is just not my cup of tea. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.